For thousands of years, humanity had lived in peace with many alien species across the galaxy. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Over time, Earth became known as a neutral world, a place where conflicts between the stars didn't reach. From the outer planets to distant star systems, humans were respected for their ability to avoid war through clever diplomacy and compromise. Earth was a world that seemed unimportant to most aliens. In fact, it was often overlooked, a small blue planet far from the centers of power in the galaxy. Yet, the humans were never ignored. Their unique ability to solve problems without resorting to violence made them an invaluable presence. This peace was never easy to keep. Conflicts still arose, as they do between any species, but human leaders had always found a way to keep things calm. It was not that humanity lacked the ability to fight. It was that they preferred a different way to handle problems. War was seen as a last resort, a failure of imagination and diplomacy. There were stories, too, of humans refusing to fall into old habits. They faced enormous threats, even hostile alien empires, and always managed to find a peaceful solution. Time and time again, they showed that diplomacy, creativity, and understanding could bridge even the deepest divides. Other species began to admire this trait, calling humanity a beacon of peace in a galaxy full of strife. However, there were always those who disagreed. The larger, more powerful species in the galaxy saw humanity's peaceful approach as a weakness. They thought the humans were simply naive, too weak to defend themselves or stand up for what they had. For centuries, many of these species thought that sooner or later, humans would be pushed too far, and their peace would shatter. But that never happened. Year after year, the peace held strong. There were occasional small skirmishes or disagreements with other species, but nothing that threatened the stability humanity had carefully built. Then, one day, everything changed. It started with a message. A sudden broadcast, loud and clear, filled every communication channel that humanity used. The message was from the Galaxian Empire, an ancient and feared alien race that had once ruled much of the galaxy. The Galaxians had been quiet for a long time, biding their time, waiting for the right moment to make their move. But now, they had finally decided to act. Humanity, the message began, your time of peace is over. We declare war on your planet. Prepare for the end of your civilization. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving behind only silence. The people of Earth sat in stunned disbelief. For the first time in centuries, the peace humanity had fought so hard to protect was under threat. News agencies around the world were buzzing with shock. Alien forces were on their way to Earth, and the Galaxians were a species known for their ruthlessness. They had wiped out entire worlds in their pursuit of power. But as the message played over and over again, a strange thing happened. People started to laugh. At first, it was a nervous chuckle. But then, as the reality of the situation sank in, the laughter grew. People weren't afraid. They were amused. They laughed at the thought of the Galaxians, thinking they could scare humanity with threats of war. It was almost laughable. After all, humanity had faced much worse in the past and always found a way to win without ever firing a shot. The idea that a race of aliens who hadn't interacted with humanity for so long thought they could just come in and crush them was ridiculous. The laughter spread like wildfire. News stations, social media, and even government leaders joined in. A strange sense of confidence filled the air. Humanity wasn't scared. They had never been scared of threats like this. Sure, the Galaxians were powerful, but they had no idea what they were up against. How ridiculous, one famous human diplomat said on live television. They think they can break a 3,000-year peace with us, simply by sending a message and threatening war. We'll show them just how wrong they are. The laughter wasn't just from civilians, either. The government, military leaders, and scientists all responded in similar fashion. They didn't call for an emergency mobilization or panic. Instead, the world's leaders gathered, discussing their next move as if this was just another diplomatic challenge to overcome. The Galaxians, on the other hand, watched this reaction with confusion and anger. They expected fear. They expected humanity to cower, to tremble in terror at the thought of an alien invasion. But that wasn't the reaction they got. Humans didn't fear war. They laughed at it. At first, the Galaxians didn't know how to respond. They had never encountered a species that didn't quake in fear at the idea of invasion. Most civilizations cowered before them. But humans, they didn't just laugh. They mocked them. The invaders were left baffled. How could a species so small, so seemingly fragile, respond to such a grave threat with nothing but laughter? And so, the first step in this strange new chapter of human history began. It wasn't one of fear or panic. It was one of defiance, humor, and confidence. Humanity was not afraid of war. They didn't need to fight to win. They would show the galaxy that there was something stronger than fear, something that even the most terrifying of alien empires didn't understand: the power of human spirit. The moment the Galaxian Empire's declaration of war echoed across Earth's communication channels, it felt like everything was about to change. Governments scrambled, military forces prepared, and scientists tried to analyze the alien message for hidden meanings. But there was one thing that no one expected. Humanity wasn't scared. Instead, they were ready to take a stand, but not in the way the Galaxians had anticipated. The response from Earth was swift and strange. Rather than rushing to build weapons or prepare for battle, humanity simply laughed. They laughed not because they were foolish, but because they knew something the Galaxians didn't. Earth had faced far worse threats in its long history. Humanity had seen wars, invasions, and destruction, but they had always overcome them, not through violence, but through wit, creativity, and unity. The Galaxians, however, were not laughing. They didn't understand the laughter at all. How could these tiny humans laugh in the face of destruction? How could they mock an empire that had conquered entire star systems with ease? The Galaxians had never been challenged in this way before. Their leader, Emperor Zarthan, was furious. Why do they laugh? He demanded of his generals, his voice echoing through the grand war room of their flagship. We send them a message of war, and they respond with laughter. Have they no respect? No fear? One of his generals, a cold, calculating alien named Crix, approached the emperor. My lord, I have been studying this species for some time. The humans, they are not like other races. They have faced great threats before, yet they have a strange way of dealing with such things. They laugh when others would cower. It's how they cope with fear, perhaps. But they cannot laugh forever, Zarthan growled, his anger simmering. We will crush them. We will show them the power of the Galaxian Empire. We will make them pay for their insolence. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the situation was unfolding in an unexpected way. The world's leaders weren't acting out of fear or panic. Instead, they were meeting with a calmness that only added to the mystery for the aliens. It was almost as if humanity had been waiting for this moment, as though they had expected the Galaxians to one day come, and they were ready for whatever came next. One of the most surprising aspects was the way the human military responded. Rather than immediately sending troops to defend Earth, they sent out a message of their own. The message was simple, yet it stunned the Galaxians. We accept your challenge, but we prefer to play by our own rules. This response confused the Galaxians even more. What did play by our own rules mean? Was this some sort of trick? What kind of games were the humans talking about? The Galaxians had prepared for war, not for some kind of bizarre challenge. And so, the Galaxians began their approach to Earth. Their fleet was massive, hundreds of ships, each one carrying advanced weaponry and highly trained soldiers. It was a terrifying sight for any species that might face them. But humanity didn't flinch. Instead of fear, the world watched in awe as the news outlets broadcasted footage of the alien fleet approaching. Look at that, one reporter remarked. It's like something out of a science fiction movie. The Galaxians landed on Earth in various locations, setting down their massive ships in the middle of large cities. Alien soldiers, towering and menacing, marched down the ramps with weapons in hand. They were ready to strike, to take control, and to show humanity their place in the galaxy. Their arrogance was undeniable. They thought their size and power would intimidate Earth's people. But instead of running, hiding, or showing fear, the people of Earth gathered in massive crowds. They watched the alien invasion unfold with a strange sense of amusement. Social media exploded with comments and memes, all poking fun at the aliens' serious faces and their heavy, intimidating armor. People laughed at the size of the Galaxians, comparing them to clumsy, oversized creatures. The aliens, so sure of their might, now found themselves the subject of human humor. The human governments, meanwhile, began to turn the tide in ways no one had imagined. A call went out across the world. Humanity's strongest weapon is not its military might, but its ability to adapt, to innovate, and to laugh in the face of adversity. Experts and engineers from every country were now focused on a different kind of war, one of creativity and problem-solving. Teams of scientists, philosophers, and even comedians were brought together to find a solution that would turn the tables on the Galaxians. The goal was not to fight, but to outsmart them, to outthink them, and to show that humanity's true strength lay not in weapons, but in ideas. As the days passed, the Galaxians grew more confused. The cities they had landed in were filled with people who seemed strangely unfazed. The invaders expected riots, chaos, and fear. Instead, humans were making jokes, creating viral videos, and discussing the best ways to deal with the alien presence, all with humor at the forefront. Emperor Zarthon watched in disbelief as his mighty empire struggled to understand this strange human reaction. "What is wrong with them?" he muttered. "They should be shaking in their boots. Why don't they fear us? We are the mightiest force in the galaxy." But as the days turned into weeks, the Galaxians realized that their fearsome reputation meant nothing to humanity. The more they threatened, the more the humans responded with wit and cleverness. The Galaxians, who had once relied solely on power, now found themselves in a battle they never expected, one of humor, wit, and a resilience that was impossible to break. Days turned into weeks, and the Galaxians still couldn't understand what was happening. They were the most advanced species in the galaxy, known for their ruthless conquests and indomitable power. And yet, here they were, standing on the surface of Earth, surrounded by a planet full of humans who were doing nothing. Nothing except laughing. The alien soldiers who had landed in cities around the world were growing frustrated. They were prepared for resistance, for fear, for chaos, but none of that came. Instead, the human population seemed to be treating their invasion like some kind of joke. Children played in the streets, making alien-inspired drawings with chalk. Comedians held live shows, poking fun at the Galaxians' intimidating armor. Even the leaders of Earth's nations were not showing fear. In fact, many of them were appearing on television with a calm, almost amused demeanor. "We've faced tougher challenges before," one world leader said during a live broadcast. "This is just another chapter in the story of humanity, and we'll write it in our own way." This response only baffled the Galaxians more. Why weren't the humans trembling in fear? Why weren't they scrambling to find shelter? Wasn't this the moment they had been waiting for? To break the 3,000-year peace and crush the humans once and for all. But instead, the humans were laughing. At first, Emperor Zarthon was sure this was some sort of trick. Surely the humans were hiding their true fear behind this act of defiance. They were trying to throw off the Galaxians, to make them believe they weren't afraid. But Zarthon knew better. His generals knew better. The Galaxian Empire had never faced a species like this before, and it was starting to feel like they were losing control of the situation. Meanwhile, humanity was moving forward with an unexpected plan. Earth's brightest minds, from scientists to engineers to philosophers, were working together at a rapid pace. They weren't building weapons of war. Instead, they were working on something far more unique, a strategy to make the Galaxians realize that strength could be measured in ways beyond military might. One of the most famous human inventors, Dr. Clara Wren, a woman known for her brilliance and creativity, appeared on television with a challenge to the Galaxians. "We've heard your threats," Dr. Wren said, speaking directly to the cameras. "But here's the thing. Humans don't solve problems the way you think we do. We don't need to destroy to win. Instead, we'll show you something we do best. We adapt. We create. We surprise. And that's how we'll win this war." Her words went viral. The Galaxians, who were monitoring every broadcast, heard Dr. Wren's challenge, and they were more confused than ever. What did she mean by adapt? How could humans adapt to a war they had never fought before? What was there to create when their enemy was an empire that had crushed countless civilizations? The human response wasn't about military power. It wasn't about weapons or armies. Instead, humans were fighting with their minds and their creativity. In every city, every town, and every corner of the globe, people were coming together to create something new. A plan that didn't involve brute force, but ingenuity. Scientists began to develop technologies that could disrupt the Galaxian systems. Engineers were working on creating devices that would confuse and disorient the invaders. Philosophers and psychologists were offering strategies to break through the Galaxians' mental armor, challenging them in ways the aliens had never experienced. And then there were the peaceful warriors, ordinary humans who were using humor and kindness to break down the Galaxian soldiers' resolve. It wasn't uncommon for a human to walk up to a Galaxian soldier, smile, and offer them a drink, all while cracking a joke about their strange, over-the-top appearance. It didn't take long before the Galaxian soldiers began to feel uneasy. They had expected to be feared, to be respected. But instead, they were being treated like the punchline of a joke. The humans' behavior was bewildering. Some of the soldiers started to doubt the invincibility of their empire. How could a species so small, so fragile, make them feel so uncomfortable? One day, a Galaxian commander named Xandor, stationed in New York City, grew tired of the mocking humor. He ordered his troops to march through the streets and intimidate the crowds, hoping to strike fear into the humans once and for all. But as they walked down the bustling avenues, something strange happened. Instead of running away, the people of New York started following them, making silly faces and mimicking their movements. One human, dressed as an oversized alien, joined the parade, waving at the Galaxian soldiers with exaggerated enthusiasm. "Hey, look, it's your cousins from the planet Gleep," the human shouted with a grin, pointing at the Galaxians. The soldiers didn't know what to do. Their minds were trained for combat, for dominance, but not for this absurd display of humanity's resilience. The situation was becoming chaotic, but not in the way the Galaxians had planned. The more they tried to show their strength, the more the humans laughed, making it harder and harder for the alien soldiers to maintain their serious demeanor. And all the while, Dr. Wren's challenge echoed in their minds. "We'll surprise you." Zarthan, still watching from his flagship, began to question everything. Were these humans really so weak? Or was it possible that they were something much more dangerous than he had anticipated? The Galaxians had underestimated humanity, and now they were beginning to realize it. The days stretched on, and the Galaxian Empire's frustration grew with each passing moment. What had begun as a carefully planned invasion, designed to crush humanity and restore their dominion over the galaxy, was rapidly becoming a fiasco. The Galaxian soldiers, once so confident in their strength, now found themselves constantly bewildered by the behavior of the humans. While the alien commanders discussed military strategies and how to bring their overwhelming power to bear, the humans continued with their unusual approach. In every corner of Earth, from the bustling streets of London to the quiet villages of the Amazon rainforest, ordinary people were showing the Galaxians just how resourceful they could be. One group of humans, armed with nothing more than a few cardboard boxes, had managed to create a massive, fake spaceship. It was cleverly constructed to look like an alien vessel, complete with glowing lights and intricate designs. The intention wasn't to fool the Galaxians into thinking the humans had advanced alien technology, but to draw them into a trap. Once the aliens took notice of this ship, the humans would spring into action, using their quick thinking and inventions to create confusion among the invaders. This creative effort wasn't the work of soldiers or top-secret agents. It was the work of high school students. They had built the entire fake spaceship as part of a school project to prove that humans could solve problems in unconventional ways. The Galaxian soldiers who had been assigned to patrol the area were baffled by the spaceship and didn't know whether to investigate or ignore it. Meanwhile, Dr. Clara Wren, who had become somewhat of a symbol of humanity's resistance, was busy working on an entirely different strategy. She had been leading the charge in creating a device that could disrupt the Galaxians' communication systems. If they couldn't coordinate, they couldn't win. The plan was risky, but it was exactly the kind of unexpected move that humanity excelled at. Dr. Wren gathered a team of engineers and hackers, none of whom were military personnel. In fact, some of them were high school graduates, eager to prove that they could contribute to the defense of their planet. They worked in secret, building a device that could jam the advanced communications of the Galaxian fleet. The device was small, portable, and simple by the standards of alien technology, but that's exactly what made it so effective. It was something the Galaxians never expected. As they labored away, another part of humanity's plan was unfolding in the background. Around the world, humans began to spread messages of unity and humor. It wasn't just about mocking the aliens anymore. It was about sending a message. We are not afraid. Comedy specials were broadcasted from major cities, where human comedians made jokes about their alien visitors. Social media was flooded with memes, videos, and hashtags poking fun at the Galaxians. One popular trend involved human performers dressing up as Galaxian soldiers and acting out exaggerated versions of their behavior. The result was an outpouring of creativity, from music videos to satire sketches. While some of the alien soldiers watched in confusion, others grew irritated, unsure of how to react. The humor was like an invisible force, breaking down their morale. In the Galaxian war rooms, Emperor Zarthan paced in frustration. Why aren't they scared? Why aren't they cowering before us? He demanded of his generals. We have the power to wipe them out. Yet they act like this is a joke. A military strategist, General Crix, leaned forward, observing the situation with an almost clinical detachment. Emperor, I believe they are mocking us. They are not afraid because they do not see our power as the greatest threat. Their strength lies in their ability to adapt and find humor in the face of adversity. Zarthan scowled, unwilling to accept this explanation. Humor. What kind of weapon is humor? Perhaps it is a weapon of the mind. Crix suggested cautiously. We have seen it before with other species, but never to this extent. The humans are showing resilience, creativity, and unity in ways we've never encountered. It is something we did not anticipate. But Zarthan was having none of it. He was determined to crush humanity's spirit. If they want to treat this as a game, we will make them regret it. The next day, Zarthan ordered a full-scale attack on the fake spaceship built by the high school students. The alien soldiers were instructed to land and destroy it, thinking it was part of a human resistance effort. What the Galaxians didn't realize was that the students had set up a series of harmless but confusing traps. When the soldiers approached, a loud bang rang out as confetti shot from hidden cannons. It was followed by a chorus of laughter and cheers from the students who had set the whole thing up. The aliens were confused, frustrated, and more than a little embarrassed as they tried to figure out what was happening. They had been outwitted by a group of teenagers. In another part of the world, the device Dr. Wren's team had been working on was ready. The plan was simple: deploy the device in key locations where the Galaxian communication systems were strongest. It would emit a frequency that disrupted their ability to communicate with their fleet. The humans knew this wasn't the end of the war, but it was a critical step in showing the Galaxians that their military might wasn't the only way to win. As the device was activated, Reports began coming in from the front lines. Galaxian commanders were reporting that their communications were failing. Officers were unable to reach their soldiers, and soldiers couldn't coordinate their movements. The Galaxians were losing control of their own forces. The humans had struck again, but this time it was with intelligence and creativity. And with each success, the Galaxians were left wondering, were these humans really as weak as they had first thought? As the days turned into weeks, the Galaxians' frustration grew. Every time they tried to make a move, humanity would outsmart them with their clever tactics. What was supposed to be a quick and easy conquest had turned into a comedy of errors for the alien invaders. And the humans, far from being intimidated, were becoming more united, creative, and confident with each passing day. Emperor Zarthan's temper was wearing thin. He paced back and forth in his war room, his tentacles twitching in agitation. The humans had not only disrupted their communication systems, but had also turned every minor victory into a source of ridicule for the Galaxians. Zarthan couldn't believe how much trouble this small planet was causing. "What is it about these humans?" he muttered to himself. "Why are they not afraid?" General Crix, the most level-headed of Zarthan's advisors, replied, "Emperor, they are mocking us. They are laughing at our strength. They see our power, but they do not fear it. Instead, they are united in their defiance." Zarthan's eyes narrowed. "They think we are a joke, but we will show them the truth. They will fear us." While the Galaxians plotted their next move, humanity continued to resist in ways that no one had expected. Ordinary people from all over the world, teachers, scientists, artists, and even children, joined the effort. And the best part, they were doing it with a sense of humor. In cities across the planet, people took to the streets in protests, but not the kind anyone expected. They didn't march with weapons or angry faces. Instead, they wore costumes, held signs with silly slogans, and danced to the beat of their own drums. They chanted things like, "We won't fall for your alien tricks," and "Galaxians, get your own planet." The absurdity of it all made the Galaxians uneasy. They had expected fear, not laughter. In New York City, a large group of people gathered in Central Park, holding an event called the Galactic Comedy Fest. There, humans performed skits and stand-up routines poking fun at the aliens. Some impersonated Galaxian soldiers with exaggerated accents, while others made jokes about their over-the-top technology. A live stream of the event went viral, and soon people all over the world were watching. The Galaxians, however, were not amused. They couldn't understand how such a simple species could turn their invasion into a laughing matter. But the humans had a purpose. They weren't just mocking their invaders. They were building a sense of unity. The more the humans laughed together, the more they realized that they were not alone. There was power in their shared resistance, and it was not just in their physical strength or technology. It was in their creativity and their ability to adapt. Back in the war room of the Galaxian fleet, Zarthan's patience finally ran out. He demanded a more direct approach. "We will end this foolishness now," he declared. "We will destroy their cities and show them the true might of the Galaxian Empire." But General Crix, ever the strategist, cautioned against such an extreme measure. "Emperor, if we destroy their cities, we risk turning them into martyrs. They will only fight harder. It will not break their spirit. It will strengthen it." Zarthan growled in frustration. "Then what do you suggest we do? Let them laugh at us forever." General Crix considered the situation. "Perhaps we need to take a step back and reevaluate. This war is not just about power. It is about perception. The humans have found a way to mock our strength. Maybe we should try something different, something they do not expect." Zarthan paused, narrowing his eyes. "What do you mean?" Crix took a deep breath. "What if we tried humor? What if we joined them in their mockery? What if we became the joke?" Zarthan stared at him, incredulous. "You want me to joke around with them? You want me to laugh with these creatures?" Crix nodded. "It might be the only way to break their unity. If we make them question their own sense of humor, if we show them that we can laugh at ourselves, it might disarm them. Zarthon was silent for a long moment. The idea seemed ridiculous to him, but his advisors had failed to find a solution. Maybe this was their only option. He finally spoke, a bitter smile forming on his face. "Fine. We will try it your way, General. But if it doesn't work, I will personally ensure that you pay the price." Crix nodded, fully aware of the risk. "Understood, Emperor." And so, the Galaxians began their unexpected experiment. In the middle of their strategic command, Zarthon issued an order to produce a series of videos. The goal was simple. The aliens would make fun of themselves. They would act out exaggerated versions of their own soldiers, wear ridiculous costumes, and perform outlandish sketches that mocked their own strength and might. Zarthon, with a begrudging sense of humor, even agreed to star in one of the videos. His performance, which included an attempt to imitate a human comedian, was awkward at best. The videos were broadcast to Earth. At first, humanity was confused. They had expected another show of force, not a parade of comedy. But soon, they began to see the aliens in a different light. The videos were so absurd, so out of place, that they started to laugh even harder. What had once been a serious invasion was now a spectacle. The Galaxians had made a critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and find humor in the face of danger. And as the humans watched the alien comedy unfold, they realized one important thing. The invaders, for all their might, were no longer a serious threat. The situation was growing tense, but no one could deny the unexpected twist that had shaken the Galaxians. After their comedy videos were broadcast to Earth, the entire human population seemed to find new energy. What began as an alien attempt to mock humans had quickly turned into a source of pride for humanity. The laughter, once an act of defiance, now became a symbol of resistance. In cities all around the world, people found creative ways to embrace the absurdity of the situation. They began holding alien comedy nights, where they recreated scenes from the Galaxian videos, adding their own spins. Even world leaders joined in, making light of the alien invasion. It was impossible to take the Galaxians seriously anymore. They had become the joke of the universe. Meanwhile, Emperor Zarthon watched in frustration as his people continued to lose ground. His initial plan had failed miserably. What should have been an easy conquest had instead turned into an embarrassing spectacle. The Galaxians had no idea how to handle the humans' resilience, especially when it was wrapped in humor. Zarthon slammed his fist on the table, his tentacles trembling in fury. How can this be? How are they not afraid? They laugh at us, they mock us, and they still resist. General Crix, who had been silently observing, spoke up. "Emperor, it's not just the humans laughing. It's their ability to adapt. They are using our own tactics against us. We underestimated them." Zarthon growled, his mind racing. "Then we need to stop them. We cannot allow them to continue mocking us. We will take stronger action." But Crix cautioned him. "Emperor, if we strike harder, it could push them even further. We cannot afford to underestimate the power of their unity." Zarthon considered this carefully. It was true. Humanity had surprised him at every turn. They had not only resisted, but they had turned the tables by showing the aliens they were not afraid. Zarthon realized that the more the Galaxians attacked, the more the humans laughed. Perhaps the way to win wasn't through more force, but by understanding what the humans valued most. On Earth, a new wave of creativity swept across the planet. People didn't just make fun of the aliens. They started to fight back with the very tools the Galaxians had failed to control: humor and unity. A group of young engineers created pranks on a larger scale. They modified ordinary technology into quirky, harmless weapons, like giant whoopee cushions that would blast alien ships out of the sky with bursts of air. They even developed loudspeakers that played the Galaxians' own comedy skits back at them, amplifying their ridiculousness. It wasn't long before the Galaxians found themselves unable to do anything without being humiliated. Every attempt to strike at humanity only seemed to make the humans laugh harder and harder. In the middle of this chaos, humanity's most brilliant minds came together, forming a worldwide network. They began to use their humor, technology, and creativity to create what they called the Laughter Network. The Laughter Network was simple in theory but genius in its execution. Using a combination of social media, viral videos, and underground broadcast systems, humanity sent out a message of unity, peace, and joy. The message was clear. No matter what the Galaxians did, humanity would not back down, and they would continue to laugh in the face of danger. At first, the Galaxians dismissed this Laughter Network as another part of the humans' foolish antics. But as their own ships began to malfunction and their plans fell apart, they could no longer ignore the strange power that the humans seemed to have. One evening, Emperor Zarthan called a meeting of his top commanders. His voice was low and filled with irritation. "We must stop this Laughter Network. The humans are turning our invasion into a joke. They are organizing faster than we can respond. We need to find a way to break their unity." General Crix, ever the tactician, spoke up. "Emperor, it may be time to consider a different approach. The humans are using humor as their strength. Perhaps we can find a way to join them." Zarthan blinked in confusion. "Join them? You want us to laugh with them? After all this time, after all their mockery?" Crix nodded. "Yes, Emperor. It may be the only way to break their spirits. If we show them that we are not afraid to laugh at ourselves, they may start to see us in a different light. We must turn this into a game, one where we control the narrative." Zarthan thought for a moment. The idea of laughing at himself was almost unbearable, but he realized that he had no other option. The more serious they became, the more ridiculous they looked. Perhaps it was time to embrace the absurdity. With a heavy sigh, Zarthan ordered the creation of a new series of videos, ones where the Galaxians would make fun of themselves. It would be a parody of their invasion, with the aliens acting as bumbling, clumsy invaders, slipping on banana peels, and trying, and failing, to adapt to human customs. Zarthan even agreed to participate, donning a ridiculous outfit and trying to impersonate a human comedian. When the videos were finally released, they were met with immediate attention. Humans watched with a mix of confusion and amusement. Some were skeptical, unsure if this was another tactic or if the aliens were genuinely attempting to turn the tables. But one thing was clear: the Galaxians, the once feared conquerors of the stars, had begun to lose their grip. And the humans, they were still laughing. In fact, the more the Galaxians tried to humor them, the more it became evident that the real winners of this war were not the strongest, but the ones who could laugh the hardest. The universe watched in suspense as the situation between the humans and the Galaxians continued to unfold. The once feared Galaxians, known for their strength and advanced technology, had found themselves utterly baffled by humanity. What was supposed to be a quick and easy war had turned into an embarrassing fiasco, and there seemed to be no way out. Emperor Zarthan sat alone in his command center, surrounded by holographic maps and images of Earth. He had tried everything: force, fear, and even humor. And still, the humans laughed. His mighty fleet was struggling, and their most advanced weapons could do little against the relentless creativity and laughter of humanity. It was as if the humans had discovered the key to defeating them, without firing a single shot. Zarthan rubbed his temples, his many eyes narrowing in frustration. How did we fail so badly? How did we miscalculate this? General Crix stood by, his posture rigid. He had been quiet for some time, but now he stepped forward and spoke with a calm resolve. "Emperor, it's clear now. The humans don't fear us, and perhaps we've misunderstood their strength all along." Zarthan stared at his general, not understanding. "What do you mean?" "The humans, they don't need to defeat us with force," Crix continued. "They've already won. They've made us the joke of the universe. They've turned our invasion into their victory, without even lifting a weapon. Their strength isn't in their weapons. It's in their unity, their ability to adapt, and most importantly, their resilience. Every time we try to hurt them, they only laugh. Zarthan's tentacles twitched in thought. Could it be true? Was it possible that the humans had already won? The more he thought about it, the clearer it became. The Galaxians had used everything at their disposal: fear, power, and even humor. But the humans had used their greatest weapon: the ability to laugh in the face of overwhelming odds. A communication signal beeped, interrupting the moment of reflection. It was a message from Earth, and Zarthan's heart sank when he saw the sender. It was the leader of humanity, a woman known as President Ilara. Her face appeared on the holographic screen, smiling calmly as she addressed the entire Galaxian fleet. Emperor Zarthan. President Ilara's voice came through with ease. I think we've had enough of this. It's clear you've tried everything, but it's also clear that you haven't learned the most important lesson. You may have weapons, technology, and power, but we have something stronger. We have each other, and we have laughter. Zarthan's eyes widened. This was not the response he had expected. How could they be so confident? Let's end this, Zarthan. Your people came to us with the intent to conquer, but instead, we've all learned something valuable. It's not about who is strongest, it's about who is willing to laugh, to come together, and to adapt. And let's face it, your jokes just aren't funny. The screen went black, and Zarthan felt something he had never felt before: a sense of defeat. The humans had won, not through force, but through a simple truth that the Galaxians had overlooked. The war was not a battle of weapons or strength. It was a battle of spirit. Back on Earth, people gathered in celebration. The news spread quickly that the Galaxians were retreating, not because they had lost the fight, but because they realized they had no chance of conquering a people who could not be defeated by force alone. The humans had used their creativity, their unity, and their ability to laugh to break the Galaxian will to fight. There were no grand speeches, no victory parades. Instead, the victory was celebrated in the simplest of ways, with laughter. Humans gathered in parks, streets, and homes to share jokes, watch funny videos, and enjoy the moment. The war had ended, but the spirit of humanity was stronger than ever. Even as the last of the Galaxian ships retreated, there was a strange sense of peace. The once hostile invaders had left, not with a bang, but with a whimper. And humanity, instead of celebrating with anger or revenge, celebrated with joy. They had proven something the universe would never forget. Sometimes, laughter truly was the best weapon. As the Galaxians returned to their own corner of the galaxy, they were forever changed. The memory of the humans' laughter echoed in their minds. It was a victory that would go down in history, a victory that no alien race could ever truly understand, but one that would be remembered across the stars. And for humanity, the battle was won, not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they refused to be intimidated. They had found strength in their laughter, and in that, they had conquered a power that the Galaxians could never defeat.